Yeah.
Awesome. So we should have a quorum.
I was gonna say, as long as we've got 5.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Sarah Smith's Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I'm pleased to call this meeting of Sarah Smith Go Team to order. Our first business is to call roll and review our norms. The secretary will now take roll.
Okay, Dwight Hudson,
Present.
Simona Derrickson. Okay, maybe she's so late. Mary Posada. Okay, Ann Mittman, BJ Osby,
Present.
Jennifer Chestnut,
She will not be.
Carla Lamar.
Here.
LaQuisha Smith.
Present. Present.
Okay, Ben Miller,
Present.
Andrea Omario. Present. And we've got Simona.
Hey, Simona.
Hi.
Great. So this team will only be able to take action if a quorum is present. And is a quorum present?
Yes.
Great. Our first order of business today is to,
Mary Posada just had expected.
Okay.
great, thank you. Hi, Mary. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Can we add Simona's cluster representative report as a information item?
Perfect. Yes. May I have a motion to approve the agenda with the changes?
I move to approve the agenda.
A second.
All right, all in favor of approving the agenda with the additional item in the informational item section on the cluster update, please say aye. Or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed, say
Aye.
nay. Any abstentions? All right, great. So the agenda has been approved. The next thing we'll do is to review and approve the minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
Move to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Thank you, BJ. Can I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Are there any abstentions? The minutes have been approved. All right, so we'll now move to the discussion items of our agenda. The first discussion item is the presentation of the final budget. Mr. Hudson, will you please take us through the final budget presentation?
All right, so of course, we are here, step 7, Go Team final budget approval meeting. And budgets, the final approval will take place on March 15th. That's why we had to have this meeting at this time. During this meeting, Go Teams will review the budget, which should be updated based on feedback from the staffing conference, which I had on February 27th, associate superintendents and key leaders. And so they all took a look at the budget and helped me to review and make any additions or changes. We are going to present the final budget recommendations for Go Team approval. And then, of course, all approval meetings must occur after the staffing conferences, which we are in that phase right now. So just as a reminder, the budget parameters that we went over the last time, and we've done this a few times, but create a school-wide culture of high expectations, trust, and strong communication. This is a priority. as well as cultivate a global learning community that cohesively aligns our school systems and resources with the IB curriculum and supports our diverse population. Number 3, develop a literate community in which students read and write with clarity and fluency across the curriculum. Embed a data-driven multi-tier system of support to improve all subgroup performance in math and ELA. Offer a rigorous curriculum with an enhanced focus on the integration and application of math, science, and technology. Create a well-rounded curriculum that develops the whole child by providing more exposure to and appreciation of the arts and social emotional learning. Of course, implement the whole child team with fidelity. Offer authentic and diverse professional learning experiences and tiered coaching to increase teacher efficacy. Foster an active and engaged school community that encourages inclusion of all stakeholders. And those were the priorities that we aligned the budget to. School year 25 funding priorities from the school strategic plans have been ranked in the order of importance. They were linked to the APS 5 focus areas. We talked about strategies the last time, the requests, which were the asks that I made, and the amount that was associated with it. And so when you look at what we took a look at earlier was maintain 2 clerks per campus. And that was about fostering academic excellence for all and creating a school-wide culture of high expectations, trust, and strong communication. And so we discussed this as being able to answer the phones, communicate, get students, and all the things that happens in the front office on a daily basis where we actually need 2 people. Cultivate a global learning community that cohesively aligns our school systems and resources with the IB curriculum and supports our diverse population. And so we wanted to maintain our IB coach at the cost that you see on the right. Develop a literate community in which students read and write with clarity and fluency across the curriculum. And so the ask was to continue with literacy support through the media specialists, instructional coaches, and EIP teachers, and 2 EIP teachers. Embed a data-driven multi-tier system to support all subgroup performance in math and ELA. And we asked to continue with monitoring the needs for math support through MTSS at a cost that you see right here. As you go on, we asked to maintain a math coach for next year, which is to offer a rigorous curriculum with an enhanced focus on the integration and application of math, science, and technology. And as you know, the standards changed, so there was a real need for us to have a math coach and continue with that. Create a well-rounded curriculum that develops the whole child by providing more exposure to and appreciation of the arts and social emotional learning. And so when you look at this total here, this is basically all of our specialists combined, plus the counselor who also participates in our specialists. Implement the whole child and intervention team with 100% fidelity. And so all of these people are members of those teams. This is not their only job function, but we have the social worker, counselor, nurses, school psychologists, and this is the total here, $432,637. And then offer authentic and diverse professional learning experiences and tiered coaching to increase teacher efficacy. And then coaches were already accounted for in previous requests. And then finally, this is our parent liaison, where we want to foster an active and engaged school community that encourages inclusion of all stakeholders. And we just asked to continue to utilize our parent liaison for the upcoming school year. And so that was all that we discussed last time as far as our priorities and the ask from the budget, the strategies, the 5 areas or the APS 5 focus areas and so forth. So then when we looked at the original summary of position changes, we moved the kindergarten teacher that was on CARES budget to our regular general budget. Same thing that we did, we added an EIP teacher. We also added a media specialist to our CARES budget and a pre-K teacher that speaks Spanish and English because this is going to be our DLI classroom. What was removed was, and we had some discussion about this kindergarten teacher was under the CARES budget, so they simply moved over to the general budget. So that's not a loss of a position. Second grade teacher that's retiring, we're not going to fill that position, and our class sizes will be maintained at an appropriate level. The fourth grade teacher position, we are not going to replace that, and the class sizes will remain at an appropriate level. And the EIP teacher was also moved over to the general budget due to CARES expiring, and we do need that person to continue with providing support to our students that need that additional support. Same thing with the media specialist. And then we also added the pre-K teacher, which will now, even though it's not under the budget, our current budget, just so that you all see some of the positions and people that are moving about, because we are going to move a teacher that's in the building over to this side, to the general budget, into that pre-K role.
Is that media, is that our budget or is that APS?
So they have designated 2 media specialists, one for each building, and funded that as well.
They have funded that.
Huh?
They have funded
The APS district.
I would like, when you make the group, saying retired makes a difference too, to show that it's not a position being removed, that it's actually.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like, it's a position, not a person. Like, we're talking about the funding for that one position.
Right, and everything that we talk, we never speak about people.
Yeah.
We're
yeah,
always
it's
speaking
just
about
the
positions.
money, so
Right.
it's not, yeah.
But
So-
putting that out for public, I'm saying for public view, to say that the teacher is retiring, so that's not a position, is being removed, it's important for clarity.
I think, is the position being removed because the teacher's retiring, or is the position being removed because we don't need the position?
We don't need the position.
So it
So when we look at,
just works out nicely.
right, it just, when we look at second grade, we don't need the same amount of teachers on that grade. The teacher is retiring, so we're not filling that spot, and it should be, and the numbers will be fine. And that's why I also put a note here, these are positions that will be reallocated, not staff members. So hopefully that brings some more clarity that we're not speaking about individuals. So changes were made to the draft budget we discussed at our last meeting. These changes reflected allocation change of $168,340.00. So this is what happened at the staffing conference. Let's start with the most important one. This $130,000 right here, $130,540, we received a Readers or Leaders coach. And we have a coach that is actually doing ELA social studies. This really was going more specifically towards the younger grades, but we also recognize that we would like to lower the 5th grade sizes. So we had to forego that in order to lower the 5th grade sizes. And so that will have an impact on us. So it doesn't balance out completely. This is $130,000. The 5th grade position is $109,000. The remaining funds, the $21,369 are being moved to supplies for now. They eventually may be used for substitute teachers, so we can do some additional planning. But right now, we just move them to supplies. In order to support us at the higher grades if needed, we are asking for 2 teacher tutors to support readers from the reserve. So this is actually coming out of the reserve money, which is not a guarantee. So if we hit our numbers, meaning the projected enrollment that they projected for us, if we reach that goal, then we will get all of our reserve money. And the ask is to take $37,800 for 2 part-time reading tutors that can work with our students during the day, because the Readers or Leaders coach really should be focused on the younger grades. And with us moving our coach into that role, she will be working mostly with K through 3. So we needed some kind of support at this level.
Is that like EAF type?
We can think of it in that manner. Oh gosh, we did.
we have.
But we wouldn't pay them, we wouldn't get a EAF.
No, EAF is already working with us in the afternoons. So EAF
This
is
is
working,
something else.
this is something else.
Like, there's
So,
two retired teachers.
EAF are two volunteer teachers.
Okay.
Well, not volunteer, they work for an organization, but they come in and tutor our students after school. So
Okay.
when she was asking, when he asked, is this going to be like EAF? We're referring to retired teachers that will come in and support reading. But we'll be able to hire those teachers and they'll come, we'll have a panel or whatever have you with people that are experienced in reading that we will use to work with our students and give them additional support.
So just to understand, we will not have this new readers coach. You're saying we already have it, but she's just gonna do a different job.
No.
I'm sorry.
So if we were to use this position as originally intended, we would have 3 coaches.
Okay.
But we're not, we're going to have 2. And that was so that we could go ahead and add a 5th grade and bring them up to staff. Okay? And so that left us with 21,000, which won't really get any employees. And so we moved that into our supply budget, but eventually it may move into substitute so that we can actually get some people in and get some more planning for the teachers. And so that we'll look at that as the year goes on. So this is a summary of the changes.
Sorry, so the Readers Are Leaders, is that like is that a fund, a program, or? what is-
So Readers Are Leaders is an initiative by APS that will comply with the government of Georgia, which now says all teachers have to be trained in the science of reading. And so when we're doing our modules, if you hear teachers talking about doing their science of reading modules and things of that nature and getting trained on the science of reading, that's what that is. And so this coach specifically works with the science of reading for K through 3. That's the role of that job. And so we have someone on staff that's qualified to do that. So we're moving her into that role.
And does that money come from APS?
That money comes, we received an additional $130,540. Okay,
And I'm sorry, I just want to make sure. The teacher tutor, we could not get that money.
yes, it's
Okay.
possible, because
Okay.
that's in our reserves.
It's in the reserves.
So
Okay.
say, for example, we don't reach our projections, right? Then some of that money, they ask for it back. And that's why
Yeah.
usually never touch
Right.
the reserves to have that buffer just in the event we don't reach the projections. So once again, you saw this last time based on the current allocation of the school budget. Just overall, this is where we are. And when you take a look at where we spent our money, of course, 79% is going towards instruction, 5% towards pupil services, 4% towards improvement of instructional services. Can't see that. Can you see that number there, Carlos?
Mm,
It's 0 point something?
It's 0 maybe 7, maybe, I don't know,
So that's
9, either 7 or 9. I can't.
That's the educational media. I'm sorry, we did improvement of instructional services, instructional staff, that's why you can't even see it. Then educational media services is about 2%, school administration 9%, maintenance and operations 10%, and transportation doesn't even show. So most of our money is always, we want to focus towards the students and so that it benefits the students, and that's where the budget is right now. So when we talk about discussion of reserves and holdback funds, as we mentioned before, we looked at taking from the reserves and moving that to sub-budget and additional instructional supplies because our instructional supply budget is at a bare minimum. And then also I have added the teacher tutors here to the tune of $37,800, which is for 2 teacher tutors working with our students part-time. And then we'll just have to assess and see how that will work with next year's schedule once it's fully developed. Any questions? So now I have questions, or is this when you take over now?
I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Question for the GO team to consider and discuss. Are our school's priorities from our strategic plan reflected in this budget? Are new positions and our resources included in the budget to address our major priorities? Do we know as a team the plan to support implementation of these priorities beyond the budget? What trade-offs are being made in order to support these priorities? So those are just general questions, with the major overarching question being, are our school's priorities reflected in this budget?
I guess my question is, in the budget, is the budget mostly staffing? And is there curriculum in that budget, or are we pushing that to the foundation?
So a lot of the curriculum will go to foundation.
Okay.
We do have additional money because we moved that 20,000, so I think we're somewhere around 40,000 total in just supplies and curriculum things.
Mhm.
But what we do have to consider is, yeah, we're working on a bare bones budget for that because we wanted to make sure that the class sizes were small.
Right.
And so we pushed everything towards class sizes and the other priorities that we saw in the budget.
I guess I just want to make sure for clarity, possibly other people who are listening, I know there was a lot of concern about that fifth grade class sizes.
Mhm.
And we're now not losing that position, right? Those class
So-
sizes.
For clarity's sake, we never lost a position. We
Right,
had
right.
6 positions from this year and the prior year, but we are now adding a 7th. So that's the 2 classes, DLI, and the 4 traditional. I think we're going to 5 traditional now. And so that's gonna help to lower the class sizes.
Do you have a projected average class size for fifth grade?
I can give you one. I don't have it right off the top of my head. But it was originally 27, so it's gonna go down.
22.
It's 22 now?
That's what I was just.
Okay.
I would assume it would stay the same if you're keeping 5 from fourth to fifth.
Okay.
Because there's 5 right now.
Thank you.
So yeah, it should be flat there. Anything else?
So, since the budget will be bare bones, you will have to rely heavily on the, foundation for
Yeah.
programming this year.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Is that different than prior years?
So it's been kind of funny because it's strange. I came in a time when, I hate to say this, that money was a little bit more abundant because of CARES.
Yeah.
And so we discussed this in foundation that this year I received $180,000 in CARES money. And that's apart from the staffing part, just for materials, curriculum, and things of that nature. There was 180,000 that we received, so we really could rely on that budget this year. And then I walked into, I can't even remember the first year. I think as soon as I came in the door, they said I had to spend 50,000 in like a week. And so there was money coming through, but now that CARES Act has ended, now it's going back to what regular times are like, and we'll just adjust and see what that looks like in this new age. Okay. Questions, suggestions?
I guess I'm wondering, so as of right now, we have 3 coaches that go between both campuses.
Mhm.
And now we're gonna have 1 coach that's going to be primarily in the PC,
Mhm.
correct? So will that change the direction of the other 2 coaches? Has that been
We have to
worked out, or
discuss,
is that just something?
we have to
to take
discuss what
decision?
all of that looks like, but that was one of, when we talk about trade-offs, that was one of the trade-offs.
Yeah.
Because definitely, I feel like we need them. We probably need 4, especially with us implementing the science of reading, but also considering that the ELA standards are changing too. So all of that, we'll have to figure out if there's a way to bring that 4th coach back for next year. But right now, we just went to, let's see if we can get the class sizes down, but it really is a needed position, so it wasn't fluff. to really work with K through 3. When you look at our math scores and the reading scores, in particular the reading scores, because that's what readers and leaders work with, it would be beneficial to have that coach to really work with the younger kids so that as they matriculate into third, fourth, and fifth grade, that they're stronger readers. And that's what some of the other counties are seeing, and the lessons that we're taking from other counties with some of the double-digit improvements that they've seen. They've implemented the science of reading, and we've learned from them. And so that's one of the trade-offs. So we'll have to see how that goes. And if we need to, we'll figure out something for next year, which I'm figuring we will need to.
It almost sounds like we're taking a gamble. Now, and this doesn't sound as good as it was.
I mean,
I think it sounds pretty solid. If you have a solid reading teacher that understands the science of reading, focusing on pre-K or focusing on K through second grade, where that foundation of reading is it sounds like we're able to specialize a little bit more and spread people a little less thin.
and so we also have to keep in mind that we do have third, fourth, and fifth graders that
Yeah.
also need support. And the teachers and the coaches will speak up and say, hey, there are some. And that's why it's not just, I hear what you're saying with this a gamble, right?
Yeah.
But that's why we're also pulling the tutors to hopefully work with those third, fourth, and fifth. In all honesty, I would love to just say, let's have everything, but we're not in a world where we can just have everything we want. We do have to say what has the most impact, what works. And then as the Go team, we may have to adjust. So we look at our priorities again, right? Next year, and then we see what does the data yield from the move that we made this year. And if it worked, we just continue with it. But if we see that it's not working the way that we want it to work, then we make the adjustment. And I do hear you and understand what you're saying.
So the two tutors, I mean, not the tutors, the two reading coaches will be stationed at primary only.
Well, there's one reading coach,
One reading coach.
and they will be primarily
Yeah.
K through 3, right? With other things, of course, being able to support in other ways, but the priority will be K through 3. And then we have IB, and then we have math. And so everybody working together will get through it this year. We'll look at the data, we'll monitor that with MAP, and we'll monitor that with GMAS next year. And it'll be the Go team that's with us next year. We'll be looking at it to make a decision, but always keeping the students first at the forefront. What's best for the students and what are the priorities, the way that we rank them. And I am thankful and remember last year, which many of you were on the Go team last year, we received an award for being that Go team that works well together. We need to be able to push back on each other, but then at the end, we also need to be able to understand that there's a finite amount of money and we have to make the best decisions with that money and what sacrifices do we have to make in order to stick with our strategies, stick with our strategic plan, our continuous improvement plan, and just look at how can we continue to grow these students because we want to see the trend be growing. We grew last year in reading, we struggled in math, and so I want to see everything go the other way and go up. So we just have to work together and do that.
We still have EIP teachers and EIP support, and they're also getting trained in the science of reading, so.
Mhm.
that's
Media
just-
And
specialists as well.
you still have the MTSS working with interventions.
We
And
do.
you still have, our PLCs are still part of
We do.
the plan, so. Positives, yeah.
Do they all capture, because I know ERP are for students who are on ERP, right? But do all of these other support structures capture students who are not necessarily qualified for like EIP or 504, but they're just maturing slowly in reading?
And that's where it should be captured through the PLCs. So when we talk about the professional learning communities and we all come together to plan, and there's input from the coaches, and we're all talking about what do we do for our students that are right there where they're supposed to be? What do we do for our students that are struggling? And what do we do for our students that need a bit more of a challenge? So that should all be part of what happens in the PLCs, and that's what we plan and discuss. The coaches go in, they observe, and we look for those things, and that's where we hopefully are going to get the bang for our buck, proverbial bang for our buck.
Off of your though question, next year, we're losing intervention technically.
We're losing the time
We're
spirit.
losing the time for it. Have we looked at what we could do for I know you said we have required tutoring every Wednesday after school. Is there anything that we have in plan for next year to help support those kids who aren't necessarily EIP, but still need them?
So more than likely, with us going back to a regular schedule, regular Wednesday tutoring is coming back too. And so that's gonna be probably one of the things that's gonna help. And then during the daytime, just continuing to differentiate and work in small groups, because that's when the teachers have the opportunity to pull the kids in small groups, that's where hopefully we'll get everything that we need, and then we'll support teachers in small groups, because sometimes that's not the easiest thing to understand how to pull the map data, how to take that map data, create your groups, but that's what the coaches have been working on all year. And so that's the work we want to see continue.
Class that I push in for reading intervention, I feel like that's been a big help. Just me being able to be there and her being able to pull 2, 3, no more than 4 kids at a time and really attack a skill or a need. Hopefully we can continue that in some context. Yeah, after school tutoring.
Ms. Morrow, I saw your message, but we're gonna continue with the agenda, and just give me a call and we can talk about it. All right? So how are district and cluster priorities reflected in our budget? That's the big overarching question for the next part. And cluster priorities, what staff, materials, et cetera, are dedicated to supporting our cluster's priorities. Signature programs, what staff materials are dedicated to supporting our signature program. Are there positions our school will share with another school? Nurse, counselor, and I can tell you that one is a no. We won't be sharing anyone. Not being selfish, but not.
Yeah, we don't share.
All right, and so anyone have questions around this, or any ponderings, any wonderings?
I think they're reflected. I think making the 5th grade class sizes smaller aligns with the cluster priorities. Gets those kids ready to go off to Sutton. Kind of prepares them with, a good opportunity for those GMAS scores. So I see that reflected in that choice.
All right,
I'm sorry, I'm the dissenter.
okay,
I respect the 5th grade need for extra teachers, but I'm now concerned about reading. I'm very concerned about reading.
and I understand that, and so, and like I said, we'll come back to the drawing table, but remember what we have in place is to have those teacher tutors working with the students that need that additional support. And then we will see from there how we'll be closely monitoring that. And if we need to shift with what we have for next year, like deciding, okay, how can we restructure what we have in place or the people that we have? Now we're starting to look at who has the skills and who can we move around to help support those students. We're always going to make sure that the students are supported. So
If we had to make that shift, how soon would it be? Would it be after like the second map?
I think after the first map,
After the first map?
we can look at it and see from there, like, okay, the first map is our baseline,
Yeah.
but then it'll let us know, like, how are we doing so far? And then we definitely could make a move by the second one because we can see the amount of growth. But we can establish based on the first one, we will at least know where all the children are and who may need some additional support at that time. And remember, we still have Ms. Upshaw at this building, or I'm sorry, we have Ms. Upshaw and Ms. Harrison. And then we also have Ms. Throckmorton at the other building that works with our readers too, that may need additional support.
And we've got the coach, and we've got every single teacher, including specialists, being trained on the science briefing.
And the teachers too. So the goal is, if you start stronger at the younger ages, then hopefully by the time you get up to 3rd, 4th, or 5th, they won't need as much support.
Yeah.
Will there be students that need support? Always, because that's just the nature of the world. But hopefully it'll be less at 3rd, 4th, and 5th if we attack it hard in K1 or 2. That's the goal. So I know you said gamble, but it's a calculated gamble. Because we're saying if we strengthen our younger learners and our younger readers, then maybe there won't be as much of a need for support in third, fourth, and fifth. And if we see that, then we can even take some of the support that's at third, fourth, and fifth, if needed, and push them down to the younger grades as we start to balance this out.
Another thing we have that we could implement next year, we have teachers that are currently in the OG training.
Yeah.
As well as teachers that have been trained in OG before, but, and we're offering that again for next year for a new cohort of teachers. But those teachers that are in it this year could help, other teachers with some of those strategies and things that haven't had that training. So that's another opportunity to have some teacher leaders.
And that's a good point, because what we're building and APS is building across the board. We're building experts in reading. Because a lot of times, we go through college and we get classes in reading and we get a couple classes in math, but it's not until you really become a practitioner.
Yeah.
And then you're getting more resources and you think about what do the children need in order to help them grow. So that's the goal. So I heard you, but hopefully the goal is to really just.
If there's a need mid-year, right, and not just in reading, but just in any area of the school, could you tap into the reserves mid-year to say, can we pull that money for a staff person to support this area?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to be realistic though.
Yeah.
Realistically, even if we hit our goal, we only have 139,000. A teacher is 109,000.
Yeah, okay.
So the average teacher, we might, depending, and we've already asked for 37,800. So we don't have enough unless we are pulling in some part-time people. Or we're pulling in something else to support the students, but that's where we are.
I think it's also, as long as it has stayed the same, you still have that 0.5 staff that you said is certified and gifted and IB trained and has lots of experience.
But so that, when we're looking at that 0.5, that 0.5 is really probably going into the specialist area.
Specialist area.
Yeah.
Never somebody should.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Arvewell. All right, any questions about the budget? I think we pretty much thoroughly went through that. And I appreciate the questions. I do. All right, so the next thing on the agenda, this is you now.
Yep, so we do now need to take action on the presented budget. After the motion and a second, we can have additional discussion. And then once that discussion is concluded, the Go team will vote on the budget. Thank you, Principal Hudson, for sharing the information. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the budget.
Make a motion to approve the budget.
Thank you, Anne. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Carla. Is there any further discussion at this time from members of the Go team regarding the budget?
No, thank you.
Okay, there being none, all in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions? Please identify yourself or raise your hand. So the budget has passed unanimously. And we will move on to our next discussion item.
All right, so this is another major one. I'll try to make this a little bit easier by handing out, everyone should have 2 sheets of paper to rank our security grant.
So the governor is proposing a grant aimed at enhancing security in schools statewide. If approved by the Georgia General Assembly, the grant will allocate $45,000 annually to each school. In light of this potential opportunity, the Operations Division is eager to gather insights from the Go team regarding the most effective way to utilize this grant to enhance security within our school. Your input is invaluable in ensuring that these resources are allocated in a manner that maximizes their impact on the safety and well-being of our students and staff. The survey should be completed by March 29th, 2024 to ensure that input is considered in the planning process. Principal Hudson, can you please provide the survey and facilitate our discussion on the options?
All right, so we have 13 options and space for other. The first one is a school resource officer. Now, keep in mind, we're only getting $45,000 for both buildings. The school resource officer is about $100,000 a year. And we would be responsible as the school for covering that for the subsequent years. Think about where we were in our discussion about the budget just not too long ago and trying to make sure we even had an additional 5th grade teacher.
And this one person will have to move between two.
They would. But keep in mind, actually, what we would have to do is team up with some other schools to pay for a full-time one. So they would have to move between these 2 campuses plus another school in order to get that, for us to afford that 100,000. I'll be honest. All right. Second, it comes with a high degree of risk because they can't hire enough officers. And there are a number of vacancies there are 30 middle school and high school SRO vacancies right now. So I'm reading the facts, but my opinion is let's stay away from this one because even if we allocate the money to this, there's a good chance that we don't get to hire someone. Share an SRO with another school, that's the second one, which is still 100,000, but we would just decide which school. Number 3, add ballistic film to windows, and that's at a cost of for 215 square feet. That will be about 44,000.
But that's only if there is a threat from the outside.
That's true. And keep in mind, it's resistant. It is not bulletproof. So when you look at different films, they have a rating that after so many minutes, it'll deter, like delay it by so many minutes, but eventually if someone is constantly firing at that window.
Yeah.
Hate that we have to even have these discussions, but this is the reality of the times that we live in. Fencing is a possibility, but we're also working on some fencing at this moment. We're going to make a request at the PC for some fencing and we'll see what happens with that. But that one is a possibility. Addition of exterior lighting is number 5. Student ID system. Additional badge readers, which that's for staff so that we have access to certain areas where others don't. Additional interior and exterior cameras. I will share that this is a need without exposing ourselves and talking about where there's certain areas of this building and the PC where we need some cameras that we don't have yet. A non-instructional security aid, this will be used to man metal detectors, which we don't have, but they could also do hall monitoring and camera monitoring. Two-way radios, that's a possibility, but we'll have this covered. We already are covered here. We have some funds that we're gonna, you did get your new ones at PC?
We haven't got to be up at there. Supposedly I heard we're here being programmed.
So we're fine with that. Window covering and blinds. We did have Keith Sumas come out and walk the building, and that was a recommendation for the cafeteria at the PC and I believe the IC so that people can't really see in. That was one of the recommendations because we thought about if we had some extra money, how could we spend that money? And he came out and gave us some recommendations for security. So that was one. Additional metal detectors, which we do not have, and clear book bags for students, which really isn't something that we do here. And then there's space for other in case we have some creative minds.
So the only thing that's been taken care of is two-way radios and window coverings are on their way, right? You said?
Window coverings are,
You said they're on their way, the window coverage?
No.
No.
that's, we had someone come out and that was one of the recommendations that he made.
There's someone.
So
It's
we need to decide how we're spending 45,000. Is that what we're doing?
Is this now, or do we turn the survey in, or do you turn the survey? in?
I turned the survey in.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that,
Yeah, and by March the 29th, and we're really only actually stating our preference.
right, and then I'll reach
I'm
out
not
to
sure.
staff too.
Yeah, I'm not sure that at the end of the day, it's easily the assembly will say how the money will be spent. Not
Because every
only,
school gets the same thing, is that?
Yeah.
what it is?
Yeah, we'll get 45,000. And I asked about maybe 90,000 since we have two campuses and it was enough.
Wait a minute, but
You
even,
always gotta ask that.
wait, is it that you get the 45,000 to spend it on your needs, or every school gets the same thing to spend it on?
No, I believe that we will get 45,000. And this is, we're in a preliminary phase, but I believe we'll get 45,000. And then I have to make a decision on how to spend it based on Go Team's preferences.
Okay.
I'll probably put it out to the staff and get their preferences as well. And then once I have everyone, I'll just take it, compile it together. And then from there, if we get that and when we get it, then say, this is where I'd like our money spent.
Can that be changed? Once we decide?
No? So you can always change them. I don't know how strict they're gonna be. So,
It would cost for the whole school 44 for the window film?
you
Or is
know,
that per
that's only
square?
215 square feet costs
Is 40.
44,000.
Oh,
And so we don't know how much we would need. We would need a lot. We have a lot of
windows.
one wing of windows.
Yeah.
So like they would recommend, like
Like
even
ground-
that's probably my guess is, I don't know how much that is, but
More than two.
Would probably be like the cafeteria.
They talked about the
Like the big
cafeteria.
one by the
It would be
cafeteria.
The couch in the lobby of the PC.
Yeah.
That could maybe cover one.
That's like.
So even that,
That's-
right? Remember, we're getting the security vestibules and those will be covered with film as well.
Okay.
So keep that in mind too.
So are these suggestions from
This is on the actual,
security
Mhm.
people?
this is on the
These are
state
the-
survey.
okay.
This is coming from the state.
Okay, the state, okay. So, okay.
Okay, so if we look at this list, right, we have 1 to 13. What ranks bottom for you guys?
IDs. My kindergarten, no, it's not bringing an ID. I don't have mine. And I work on a campus, and I don't know what my ID is.
And clear book bags. I don't
Clear
think
book
that's
Yeah.
something that we-
Huh?
We're gonna have a PR book back.
So do we put it, so now if we look at student IDs, do we just put that as 13? Or before we jump there, do we have any other creative things that we may want?
So I have
You go to
so
other?
could we do student IDs 3.5? Like, could we do student IDs here?
We
And
could.
not, I mean, I'm just saying, like, could we do one thing at one campus and a different thing? Like, could we get fences here and ballistic film there? Or could we get clear book bags here and something else there? Not necessarily the same thing. And we probably don't know.
So we have 45,000. I
Just-
believe it's for us to decide. I don't think number one is going to be the
Okay.
whole. Because imagine if we did say student ID systems, I don't think that would be 45,000 alone. Could be wrong.
For me, metal
Well,
detectors
then-
is the last thing. but-
If you break it out like PC first. You said the fencing is already taken care of, because there was the issue with application.
Well,
Yeah, so fencing is already taken
It's,
care of.
it's being looked at and there's a conversation and there'll be a meeting tomorrow concerning that.
Okay,
So we will be going out to take, Keith Sumas will be back again because of that incident that was shared. A number of people jumped on it right away and I spoke to 2 or 3 people yesterday.
I like the lighting, especially. I mean, it's getting light now, but.
I was gonna say, before additional exterior lighting, we need to prepare current exterior lighting. And the reason, because the time's about to change. And for example, when I arrive in the mornings where I go at the bus roundabout in Park, it's like at 6:30, that main light there is now out. It is pitch black.
So that's something that we can repair and would need to buy purchase additional lighting.
Well,
And even coming up-
First, we do need to repair. that.
Yeah, and coming, and did someone turn that in already?
I just noticed it this week, and then I thought with the time change that's coming, it's gonna be
Back to dark
It's gonna
again.
be pitch black with kids and parents trying to walk.
So please shoot an email to, and copy me. So,
I think the
The cameras,
cameras,
there's
yeah, I
cameras.
was thinking the cameras
Yeah.
and maybe additional badge readers, but is that for inside the building, like to get into
Exterior and
a common,
exterior.
would it be interior or exterior? 'Cause
It
I
could
mean,
be
there's not
both.
many-
so my goal with the fence, if everything goes as planned, my goal with the fence is to have another fence, a privacy fence that's accessible by a badge reader.
Mhm.
So that's what, when we think about badge readers, where do we want
Yeah.
some additional safety? And let's not rely on the fact that they told me this to do this. If that's something that's a priority, let's put that
Badge
up as
readers
number one.
Instead of maybe locking our door.
No, but that, I'm gonna say no, but that would be great to have every classroom with a badge reader.
That would be
That would be.
so nice.
I have a question about the badge readers. Would you extend those to volunteers who are frequent, like PTO president? and-
I'm so glad you said that. Let's circle back to that at the end when we do the informational,
Okay,
because I do have some information about that we need to talk about.
so like fencing, lighting repairs and upgrades, cameras, additional badge readers is what I have for PC.
For me personally, I've always wanted this, the dream that we obviously can't have her for, would be if we ever get us to have a police officer. I want to know more about this non-instructional security aid.
So a lot of high schools and middle schools use them to actually just stand up and monitor the metal detectors as they walk in the morning. So we could also have them to walk the hallways.
It'd be just like a security presence.
Could it be like someone to sit like, kind of like, pay with a friendly face to welcome people into the building? But
I mean, it's a possibility. They didn't put the salary here, so I'm curious about what that would
Right,
cost
cost
us.
of
And
the
that was the
full-time,
second thing
part-time.
is what.
and how they would split the
And
time.
this
And how
is
they split the campus.
so I think this is like healthy discussion. At the same time, this is legislation that isn't even passed yet in the Georgia Assembly. And so I think the idea that it'd be helpful to rank our preferences, I think. I mean, easily the assembly could come back and say, you must spend it on X and you have to turn in receipts. They could say that you can spend it according to your preferences. They could say that you can split campuses, you can't split campuses. So as much as I think it's like important to do this, perhaps if it's okay with you all, I think we should try to move towards kind of figuring out if we can, yeah.
Don't
come
dig
up
too
with
deep into it,
preferences.
right?
Yeah, I just think like easily this gets shut down tomorrow. If the Captain's serious, like it's not even, the budget's not passed yet in the General Assembly, so.
And it is 4:10, so I want to get you guys out of here soon.
Okay. So
What-
for PC,
what-
it's just some lighting cameras and additional badge readers. So then IT, would you want them to be the same?
What say your four again?
Additional badge readers, cameras, lighting, repairs and upgrades, and the fencing.
My number one, to be honest with you, is cameras. Because I want to see certain things that I don't see sometimes in the building and out. Well, can we all agree with additional cameras?
I think those
Yeah.
four that
Badge,
Yeah, those top four.
the
that she
four
said
are the
was
same.
So
Yeah.
was additional cameras,
Fencing, lighting,
And
Badge readers.
and badge.
fencing,
Lighting,
lighting,
5 and then number 7.
badge readers, 4. What's 5?
I was saying that exterior lighting is number 5 on here. I guess we're making it number 3.
Yep, I'm writing on the side, so.
Okay, cool.
We all agree that student ID systems can that go to 13?
well, that's why we were separating it for PC and IC because
Uh.
we don't want to.
The teachers and we know the kids.
I don't know. I was just saying, I just used that as an example of like, could we do multiple things based on the campus? But-
Or clear book bags.
Yeah.
I would
we
say
did clear book
Clear
bags.
book bags would be at the bottom.
13,
The two-way radios, you already have them.
Yeah,
on
you
the
said-
I think metal detectors, I mean,
two-way radios 12.
The non-instructional security aid may be about a priority with the salary. we just
We
maybe
just don't know.
outside the salary window anyway?
Yeah, but we don't know, so if there's something that's interesting, let's just throw it out there. Like we said, we don't know.
Yeah, could we keep that high?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but for
what,
like 1 and 2, like those, I think those are.
why don't we put the non-instructional security aid as our fifth
Yeah.
Everyone agree?
preference?
Good.
Maybe was fencing. I remember people.
I have fencing as number two.
You have a number 2, that's great.
Student ID systems, I put at 11. I think maybe looking at, since this was mentioned as something we could use, put Windows at 6.
Yeah.
Additional metal detectors, that goes near the bottom right now at 11. Can we put that as 10?
Sure.
Oh, actually, so the officer, wait, we have ballistic film. Can that go as 6 or 7?
Either.
All right, and then we just have to, SRO that we pay for ourselves or a shared SRO that could be 8, 9. Okay,
What did you have for 12?
12, I have two-way radios, which we're covering. All right,
All right, great.
thank you, moving that along.
Perfect. So we'll now move on to the informational items on our agenda. And the first is the principal's report.
Okay, so I will keep mine very short. I guess this is all, the first 3 things are really about science. We had a science awards night last week. Our kids cleaned up, they did an excellent job. Followed by, we had science night at school. Incredible night, children had a good time, teachers had a good time, and it was a late night, but even afterwards, they said they had a great time. And parents and students alike all raved about it. We also, Adib traveled down to Macon, Georgia to participate in the technology fair. So that was one of our students that won at the school, then the district, and he placed 3rd in state. So
Awesome.
that was awesome. The reminder was March 12th. We will have a fingerprint day. That's the voting day when the kids are not in school. But safety and security is coming to the school from 8 to 12. And if you'd like to fill out the volunteer form and not go downtown and do it, and if you'd like the additional one, the level 3 clearance, which you have to get fingerprinted, you have to pay $45, that will get you a badge, but you've been vetted by, you go through basically the same thing that the teachers go through to get their IDs. And so that's the next level.
Is it a recommendation from your school to have it, or anyone can?
I think, well, no, depending on what it is, yes. And I may have to do that. I'll fill out a form requesting it for you. And then from there you do it.
Is it at the PC or the IC?
It's at the IC.
The form?
No,
No,
they're
the
coming here,
they're
8 to
back.
12. That way, you know, we have some parents that have been having trouble getting downtown, work schedules and whatever, not being, parking is hard. So they're coming here to help us out. And hopefully that will increase some volunteers in the school too.
What day is that?
Next
Tuesday
Tuesday.
the 12th.
It's that
The
asynchronous
election
learning
day.
day.
And all, the kids will be home, so you have to work around that.
They'll be here all day to work on with them?
Who teachers?
No, the.
The
The
8
batch.
to 12, yes.
Oh, 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Yeah.
Sorry. And that was it that I have for now on my report.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess, is this under me or is this something else?
I think we could just, please provide your feedback on the final APS student calendar. There's a QR code here that is up. And
I think the message is saying in Spanish.
comparta su opinión en la encuesta final del calendario escolar. And now, please, everybody, make sure to go into the it's called Ellis and check that your trainings have been completed. We do all get emails from our friends at APS to help us with this. So please just double check that and make sure that you've got yours completed. All right, with that,
Someone has it.
yep, oh, thank you. That's the amended. agenda. Simona, could you please update us on what's been going on in our cluster?
Yes, I'll keep it condensed because it's actually a lot of information. So the first third of the hour focused on our summer programs. The signature program for APS is Power Up, where they try to fill the gaps in the summer to prepare for the next school year. So elementary school and middle will focus on academics in the morning and enrichments in the afternoon. And then high school is geared towards credit recovery and summer graduation. So the sites are on a rotational schedule and also due to facility demands and repair. For our cluster, Garden Hills will host us along with Rivers. And then for the other half of the Buckhead cluster, or North Atlanta cluster rather, Bolton will host Brandon and Jackson. So a lot of times, parents are wondering, why are they getting these Power Up emails? They just come at random. So, and if someone asked that question, and it's based on your RIT score on the map. So for kindergarten, if you score below 140, you get an automatic invite. First grade, if you score below 160, is automatic. And then if you are at the level of beginning achievement for second through eighth grade, you get an automatic invitation to Power Up. So registration is currently open. And then they also, well, there's also many other summer programs like Xanadu, which is gifted, Level Up Math, Fine Arts, and then Kinder Camp for our rising kindergartners. And they will, Garden Hills will host for the North Atlanta cluster, the Kinder Camp. But there's a lot of other programs to peruse at atlantapublicschools.us/summer APS that they just focused on Power Up for this meeting. And then the contact for that is Cedric Smith, Cedric with an S, not a C, SDL Smith at atlanta.k-12georgia.us. And then I have the minutes and the link to the video that I will pass to the secretary to post on the website. So the second third of the hour was focused on family engagement, and there was a push for us to start to offer cluster-wide opportunities for our families to engage. So we're using the Carver cluster as a model where they were able to successfully pull this together in about 1.5 to 2 years. And now they have a successful STEAM night and a block party as their cluster-wide, meaning elementary all the way through high school, where they all come together. So some of our activities that we were looking to do roll into the second plan, which is our cluster plan. So within our cluster, we have a cluster plan to increase engagement, increase the success of our students, and then also recruit, retain, and increase the success of our educators, our educational staff and faculty. And so priority one for our cluster plan is to prioritize opportunities for families to engage across the cluster. The activities that we initially proposed were a North Atlanta festival, cluster night at a basketball game, and the action items that we've completed so far are a cluster night next fall at a North Atlanta football game, a prospective parent social, a pumpkin book decorations party, I don't really understand what that was, and then an annual 5th grade at Sutton, where you bring in all of the 5th grade elementary schools to Sutton to have a day to get them acclimated into the middle school cluster. Priority 2 is to retain and recruit and engage staff and leaders, staff, and faculty. Some examples we started with were campus-based mentors, funding for DLI work visas to expand recruiting DLI teachers who can support the Spanish side of the program, and then career day at North Atlanta High School for rising teachers. So towards this, they've gotten funding for DLI work visas for teachers, and then also they have established a pipeline with Georgia State University, rising teachers. Also coordinated cluster-wide IB training for all educators within the cluster to have a few days of synchronous training so that everyone can be on the same page. And then the last priority are the students, basically minimizing the achievement gap, prioritizing whole child, valuing multilingual programs and student support services. So many of the action items have already been executed and implemented in our schools, such as school improvement plan. We've already updated math at the elementary level. review and update math and middle grades, new ELA adoption, review for culturally relevant curriculum, and provide training based off of the family engagement surveys that we take annually. So our next meeting, I believe, should be mid-April, to just finalize something that we can implement for next academic year.
Exciting.
That is exciting. That's a lot of
And-
a lot of
stuff.
good-
That's a lot of stuff.
Thank you for going. That was the science awards night, so I wanted to be there to support the students, so I missed that one.
And then, and when you, if you want to post this, I put the link at the bottom, and that's the actual video to the meeting. If you want to post it in a minute.
I'll link it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Simona, for that update and cluster report. Go team, does anyone have any announcements that they'd like to make at this time?
I will.
Okay.
There's, the IB showcase for, North Atlanta High School, March 26th, and I will ask the Dwight sends us out in the remind. And I'm gonna share with teachers if they've had any students who are at North Atlanta, they'll get to see their project, their CAS projects. And also there is, I just sent this to you a few minutes ago, Dwight, a, parent. I don't know what let me see what they're calling it. The parent night for elementary and middle school parents to go and learn about the DP program and this DP program. And that is in.
What do they say for EPC?
Oh, diploma program and career.
Okay.
I believe it's in April, but now I can't find it.
This is in North
Here it
Atlanta.
is. Yeah, it's from the NAPS. It is on April 10th at 6 p.m. It's actually at Sutton.
It's in person.
Yes, I guess. We'll get this flyer out in the blast, because it has a QR code in it, in English and Spanish, so we can send this out.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. So the next item on our agenda is public comment. I understand there are public comments today. Each member of the public will have 2 minutes to speak.
Our first one was Elizabeth Zelensky. I don't know if she can see.
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Do you want me to go ahead and comment?
Please do.
Remind them that
Okay.
she-
Thank you for adjusting the budget for fifth grade class, an additional class. I've been giving, well, first of all, I wanted to say these were kids who were in kindergarten in March 2020 when they were sent home from kindergarten. And their first and second grade years were greatly affected by COVID. So I think you've made a great decision to make their class sizes closer to 21, 22 students over their fifth grade year. I've been giving school tours this year, and a common question we receive is about class size. So I encourage you to consider setting a maximum class size for the school and publishing that. When we have these tours, we have a lot of parents who are considering Sarah Smith or other public schools by doing a transfer or considering private schools. We do have a school in our cluster who publishes their class sizes, and then obviously private schools do that as well. So just as a way to recruit additional families, I think that is a good option. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Elizabeth.
you.
Next up, we have Tisha.
She was there.
Tisha, are you?
Or maybe she left. She was there.
And then Olivia Garcia.
She was there too. She mentioned one. You said Olivia Garcia?
Yes.
Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? not, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Ann. Second? Thank you, Simona. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody did approve, or is voted in favor, and so the meeting is adjourned at 4:27 PM. Thank you, everybody, for a great meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I am going to stop the recording.